Hello and welcome back to Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm the Viking, and if you're new here... So as I've been saying in the last few episodes, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental illness is something I'm very passionate about, and one thing that I have noted isn't talked about all that much when it comes to mental illness is the recovery process for when you've been mentally ill. Lots of people talk about how to get diagnosed and how to talk to your family and your doctor about your mental illness, but not a whole lot of people talk about the process of what you should do if you find yourself in a situation where your mental illness is causing you problems. So one of the most important parts of your road to recovery, or even road to just living with your mental illness, is self-care. And practicing proper self-care can literally mean the difference between life and death. It's that serious. Self-care is one of those tricky ones because what works for me for self-care probably won't work for you. It's a discovery process, and I should have put this on before I put those ends on. Oh well. So you join me here today doing some of my self-care, and part of my self-care is working on Project Outlaw here. It's something I do to help keep my mind focused, and it's important to recognise what works for you. Now, there is a very fine line between self-care and self-harm, because sometimes things that make us happy and things that make us feel good about ourselves in the moment are actually damaging in the long term. And I am a very good example of something that can seem like a good idea in the short term but is actually bad for you in the long term, because one of my more unhealthy coping mechanisms is eating. I eat way too much junk food because it makes me feel good about myself for a small, brief amount of time, which, as I said, is great in the short term, but in the long term it doesn't do you any favours. Which is why I spend so much time working on this bike, because as much as it frustrates me, especially now it's decided to start leaking from one of the carburetors, and obviously I'm continuing with my wiring woes, it does give me a sense of accomplishment and a sense of pride when things do start going right with it. But why is self-care so important? Well, one of the biggest things that people with mental illnesses tend to do is minimise the effect of their mental illness on themselves. So they will refuse to believe that what they are doing when they're mentally unwell is damaging to themselves. They will staunchly go, no, it's not, it's fine, I know what I'm doing, there's nothing wrong with me. When there is, in all likelihood, probably quite a lot wrong with them. Hence the reason they're mentally ill. And it's problematic because as much as you may not want to believe that you're mentally ill or you have a mental illness or things of that nature, it's very easy to overlook how ill you might actually be. I need a knife. How do you go about practicing good self-care? Well, it all starts with something simple and something basic. Good personal hygiene. When you have a mental illness, your personal hygiene tends to be the first thing that you start to neglect when you're having a downturn, when you're having a bad time. So the first step in good self-care is have a shower, have a bath, have a wash, brush your teeth. Where's that other piece gone? Oh, I've derped the derp. Herpa-derpa-derp. Step 2 in your personal self-care journey is hydration. The next thing people generally forget to do is drink enough water, take on enough liquids. They will stay in bed, not move, and as a result they'll get dehydrated, and that is dangerous not only for your mental health but your physical health too. So step 2 of self-care, stay hydrated. Obviously avoid alcohol, but get some liquids into you. The third thing is eat some decent food. This is the one that I always struggle with, as is quite evident and obvious, but try to eat something that's good for you, something healthy, something nutritious. If you're craving sweet things, fruits are always a win. Personally, I go with grapes and apples when I'm craving sweet things, when I'm on a mentally downhill trajectory. Step 4, get some social interaction, be that talking with friends over PlayStation Network or Xbox Live or World of Warcraft, or going and meeting your friends out, go bowling or go for a drink, or even just hang out at the house and sit quietly and watch Netflix. But social interaction is so important when you're feeling mentally low, because depression has this way of sneaking in on you and making you think that you are a burden to other people. And I'll fully admit that's another one I'm very bad at. I have a very high tendency to sort of try and fight through things independently and bottle everything up emotionally and just say that I'm okay when I'm not. So make sure that you get some social interaction. And last but not least, do something nice for yourself. I don't mean you have to spend loads of money doing it. I don't mean you have to, you know, run for miles or spend loads of money on a gym membership or go and spend an entire paycheck on a new wardrobe. What I mean is, like today, for example, I'm spending today doing things for me. So I'm making this video because it's something I want to do. I'm working on Project Outlaw because it's something I want to do. I played a couple of hours of video games earlier because I've not had a chance to do that really recently. So I decided that today I'm just going to take things nice and easy and do things for me. Things that I want to do, things that I want to create. I spent a while on YouTube earlier watching the new Punished Props video where they made one of the helmets from the How to Train Your Dragon series. It's a really cool video, and it's something I've been neglecting, is my LARP and costuming stuff. So I potentially, if I'm feeling up to it later, I may start working on my post-apocalyptic LARP stuff again. But it's looking after you, and it's looking out for number one for once. Because another thing I've noticed with mentally ill people is we try and look after everybody else instead of ourselves, which in some ways is to be commended, and in other ways it's really not good for us. Right then, we have power, we have an indicator, we have a horn. Do we have lights? Excellent. So that's worked, which is good news. Now I've got to figure out this carburetor. So what I'm kind of trying to get to in all of this, or try to explain in all of this, is it's very easy to neglect your self-care. It's very easy to forget to do it. It's very easy to overlook it as something that you need to do. But if you find yourself slipping mentally, just look out for yourself. Well, that's annoying. Now I'm going to have to go on eBay and order some more stuff. So those are my thoughts on self-care and the recovery process from mental illness. I hope that makes some sense to some people and can help some people out. If you've got self-care tips, leave them in the comments down below. I'd love to read them because I'm always looking for new ways to try and stop myself from being miserable. Work on Project Outlaw is slow at the moment because I'm waiting on parts and various fluids and stuff to try and sort out this gear selector to come in the mail. I'm waiting on them. If you're liking what you see, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Lets me know I'm on the right path. And if you want to be notified, make sure you hit the bell icon as well. That way it'll send you a message every time I upload. I try to upload at 4 PM every single Monday, trying to keep things nice and consistent. And we've got one more week of Mental Health Awareness Month left. And I'm not quite decided on the topic for next week, so keep your eyes peeled. I'll probably put something out on Instagram. But for now, I've been the Viking. As always, you've been awesome, and I will see you next week.